Liberation greetings to all and sundry. Greetings to all the brave warriors of the southern Cameroons. Greetings to all the very resilient people of Ambazonia. Today is Saturday, April 9, 2022. My people, I bring greetings and salutations to you all, wherever you are this day. You definitely have noticed that I'm starting off with some difficulty, that the vigor, the strength, the punch that you definitely know in me always is taking some time to come. This is because my heart is heavy. Heavy because it is never an interesting thing when we lose one of ours in a situation that could have been avoided. I call that recklessness, an avoidable mishap. And we all saw it coming. What did we do to stem it? A good lot of us stood by, watched, and cheered, and were waiting for this moment. My people, it is never a plus for a people who are fighting for freedom to lose anyone among us, whatever the circumstances, whatever the reason. I recall that I came to this platform some 2 months back or so to decry what was happening in Bui among the unity warriors or between the unity warriors and Insobu, our brother. I complained. I said there are some of us, groups, movements, and organizations that are determined that they must own some of these voices because they have to use them as trophy for whatsoever reason, wherever, I can't tell. And for that single reason, the unity of our brothers and sisters standing up on ground zero to fight for our own liberation becomes anathema to them. It becomes a threat to them. It becomes an existential threat to this class of people. Today we are weeping. The blame game has started. Oh, this one, it is that one that caused it. It is that one that made it that we happen to find in Sobu today lifeless. Oh, it is that other group that created it. Oh, it is this group that has done it because they hate that one. But these boys told us in video after video, audio after audio, their determination to bond together and work as one because they believe in the strength of togetherness. Even in the diaspora, we have refused to understand the power of synergy, the power of unity of purpose. On the ground, these voices, after 5 years, have come to the realization that it is only in bonding together that they will be able to better defend their ranks. And they want to do this. Hell no, we in the diaspora, we will not let them. We will continue to use a few dollars to corrupt this one to turn against the other one. My people, La République du Cameroon has spent 60 years only struggling to divide us so they can rule us. I mean 60 years. And now we too, we are struggling to divide ourselves so we can better rule the little patches or the little groupings or the little portions that we have. How despicable. What a shame. What a shame. When will we come to the realization that this struggle is above all of us? That there is not a single one of us who is above the struggle. I look back 5 years ago when we combed the localities from Bangem through Badun, came back and went through Ibamut, passed, came to Western Bakosi, moved from there, passed through Etam, into Kumba, to all the localities until got right into Akwaya, in all the nooks and crannies, moved from there to Ntumbo, to Romrock, to all of these places, my people, to Kuflu, to Kingomen, to all of these places, to Fortang, to Njiba. My people, this was out of love. This was with a lot of enthusiasm. We talked to people about the brave and great Southern Cameroons that will emerge from the movement we were birthing. Listen, I'm not one of those who stand somewhere to say we are losing it out. It is not true. We have some confused individuals, some confused groups of people in our midst who by day and by night are refusing to see the light. But I'm convinced, because I believe strongly that the God that ordained this movement knew we would meet these obstacles. And so therefore, these obstacles, these difficulties, these problems were always part of the plan. And so, my people, what we need to do is to recalibrate in order to surmount these difficulties. Take it from me, and I will prove it again going forward on this particular broadcast. La République du Cameroun is a failed state. La République du Cameroun has lost it. They lost it since 2016. We are the ones playing for time. We are the ones giving them oxygen once in a while to let them continue to hope that they can overcome us. But they will never be able to overcome us. They don't have what it takes. La République du Cameroun has its own problems that are too many, that they will never, ever be able to put themselves together to take us down. The only capital they have in their hands and the only tool they are counting on to this day is divide and rule. It fails them sometimes, but at other points, because of the greed among some of us for power, for money, for influence, just greed sometimes for the sake of greed, gives La République du Cameroun hope. Give La République du Cameroun some thoughts that maybe if we keep dragging and dragging and dragging, they may soon begin dividing themselves again seriously and making it easy for us to overcome them. I have news for all of those who are believing so strongly that they can use the internal divide and rule to break us, to destroy us, and to make us totally vulnerable. Listen, my people, the new crop of boys and girls coming up on the ground are now intelligent. They are now smart. Now they know that our salvation hangs on synergy, that our salvation hangs on working together. That is why on this slot, on this program today, I want to proudly say, Donga Mantung, welcome back home. I want to proudly, with a lot of assurance, say, welcome back home, Donga Mantung. I'm praying so strongly and so hard for the repose of the soul of our brother in Sobu. I'm praying so hard that the Holy Spirit of God would touch the hearts and minds of all those who were with him, who were being misled to oppose their own unity, that they should understand that when you are left on your own, when you are on your own, when you have to do it all by yourselves, the only tool that you use in succeeding is unity, is synergy. Let's look at all other movements before us. We shall come to this logical conclusion. Oppressed people only and always get overcome when the oppressor has his or her representatives in their midst. And who are these representatives? Those people are called the sellouts. Those people who decide to work against their own interests, against their own people, and in the interest of the oppressor. Those are the people who often serve as a weaker link and slow down the cause of the oppressed people for freedom. But trust me, the oppressed people always always end up being free. We saw them in South Africa in the apartheid era. There were many, but they failed. We saw them in the United States of America during the era of segregation. There were many too, but they failed. We saw them in Eritrea. They failed. We saw them in Southern Sudan. There were many too. They failed. We saw them in East Timor. They even cost those who were fighting for the liberation of East Timor to do it in 2 installments. But the people never gave up. They regrouped, they came back, they had learned their lesson from the division that rocked their movement the first time. And the second time, they synergized. And what did they do? They were able to overcome. And what did Indonesia do? They handed to them all those people who in their midst were working with Indonesia against East Timor. They handed them over to the people for dinner. Look, my brothers and sisters of the Southern Cameroons, no one should deceive you. No one should deceive me. No one should deceive us. The destiny of our liberation movement lies squarely in our hands, and I'll prove that. Take a look at this. I share this thought because it is so strong. It is so powerful. It speaks to our situation. It says, I met you unexpectedly, and now you're a big part of my life. None of us in the Southern Cameroons, none of us in Ambazonia asked or chose to be born in the Southern Cameroons or in Ambazonia. Listen to me carefully. None of us asked to be born in the place called the Southern Zone or in the place called the Northern Zone of Ambazonia. And just so you know, by 1961, when we got into this albatross of a union with La République du Cameroun, there was no Northwest, there was no Southwest. There was no Northern Zone, there was no Southern Zone. No. We were Southern Cameroonians. We had Kumba province. We had, I think, was it Fako province or I don't know what that was, Limbe province. We had Kambe. We had Momo. In short, the map is there. Let me not get into this because I'm so filled with emotions today regarding what happened in Kumbo. But what I'm saying, we didn't have all of that. So today when some of us sit, you say, oh, from Southwest or from Northwest, those things did not exist. In my last discourse, I talked about this elephant that as a baby had that tiny rope on his leg tied to a tiny stick that he could not shake because he was young. And as he grew up, that thought stayed in its mind. That defeatist thought stayed in its mind. That's why the people of Cameroon did all to divide us into Northwest and Southwest and plant something in our minds that there are some people in some place called Northwest who did something to some people called Southwest, and history has proven this to be totally wrong. And today, they are using that as a bane to try and see how to rip us apart always so that they will always use those identifiers, that kind of specific queer identity to dominate us. We must grow beyond this. We already did. The last vestiges of it must be cleared. That is why I bring this thought here. I say, I met you unexpectedly, and now you are a big part of my life. All of you Southern Cameroonians, all Ambazonians, my fellow brothers and sisters, listen, I met each and every one of you unexpectedly, just like you met me unexpectedly, just like we met each and every one of us unexpectedly. But today, we are a very important and indelible part of each other. Today, we are one people with one destiny. The more reason, therefore, why we have to bunch together and fight together for what we believe in, for what is so dear to us, for what will make not only us, not only our children, but generations upon generations of Southern Cameroonians to come a great people. Greatness is our portion. What we are seeing now are those moments that obstruct you on your path to distinction. That is what we are facing today, and we must overcome this. My heart goes out to the family of Insobu, to the mother of Insobu. In that broadcast that I shared on this platform, I reminded that Insobu was an only child. Now, Insobu is gone. John Paul is leaving a child who is less than 9 months old. In circumstances that are not glorious, in circumstances that mock at our very quest for freedom, in circumstances that stare us in the face and show that we are not trying to come across as a people who are mature enough to understand the art of governance. Listen, folks, these boys and girls on the ground want to fight for the flag. Is it so difficult for us to understand that? Is it so hard for us to honor that? And then we have not finished with this. Some are already saying, oh, no pity is the cause of it. Yes, your days are counted. Your days are numbered. Are we not ashamed? Are we not tired? Listen, in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, the two rival families, the Montagues and the Capulets, kept tearing themselves apart until when they lost their only children, Romeo and Juliet, the two families realized that it was senseless what they were doing after losing the most precious things. But they didn't say, oh, I've already lost it, let's continue down that path. They decided to embrace wisdom. They were able to make up, and they were able to come together. And to honor the memory of their children, they united because their children were simply struggling to bring them together, but they didn't have wisdom enough to see it. My people of the Southern Cameroons, our brothers and sisters on Ground Zero are simply trying to hold the light so that we see the importance of unity. Take a look at Bali, Nyonga. Grandpa and all his folks, they are together. We're not hearing about rival groups or left and right. They are doing good. We had these tortuous moments in Moramo. Where calm is almost returning there, we now have a hotspot in Bui. We must end it. It must end with Insobu. And I know that this will be the wish of his mother who is aggrieved right now. This will be the wish of his nearly 9-month-old baby right now. This should be the wish of all right-thinking people of the Southern Cameroons. La République du Cameroun only thrives when we are this way. Now look at my people. Just before I came in to begin this broadcast, I was listening to an audio message by Chris Anu. In that audio message, he was crying foul against Switzerland, Swiss peace, for flying to Switzerland, Agbabala, and a good lot of others. That is for capacity building. Still towards negotiation. So these are a people that will spend time bashing. Of course, for good reason, because they are against our liberation movement. Yet, I said it here over and over, that Switzerland was an enabler. That Switzerland was a smokescreen. That Switzerland was coming in simply to help La République to play for time. And we heard officials of the government party in La République du Cameroun not long ago congratulating Mr. Paul Biya because of our fragmentation and saying time is working. They called it la guerre de l'usure, the war of time. That is what Switzerland came in to do. Look, folks, as I'm talking now, if for some reason pressure begins to come from somewhere on La République du Cameroun that you have to get to the table, there has to be talks, you hear a press release from Switzerland, from HD, saying, okay, yes, we are holding meetings, or we are there, or the mediator will say, oh, I'm going to Cameroon next week. Just to get the world go back to sleep, to say, okay, something is happening. And we all know nothing is happening. Listen, like I said in my previous broadcast in Pidgin, I'm saying it now in simple English language. Yeah. In simple is and was. That smoke screen is not going to take us anywhere. And don't ask me, don't come here and ask me which alternative are you proposing. There is just one alternative. The only other alternative to that Swiss process is, my people, let us bunch together and get La République du Cameroon to start looking for a mediator. That is when you will have a peace process on the way. If the cost of occupation doesn't get La République du Cameroon having nose bleeding, I'm sure when I use this expression of nose bleeding, Dr. Liz Ambe, where she is, will quip. I said this there in 2019 in Boston. I told them, if La République du Cameroon does not feel nose bleeding, sorry, to the point where they will start saying, no, we need someone to come in and help us because we are crumbling, there will be no peace talks. They are not ready for peace. It's Professor Fonkem Achahankeng, who says in one of his numerous publications that if we don't attain that level of the mutual hurting stalemate, stop talking about negotiations, peace, and all whatnot. When the Swedes come, the whole people here, we're organizing capacity building. Those are people who will not be on the negotiation table. We're organizing the code word they use is capacity building. What are they? Please get that distraction behind us. Someone told me the same people who are in Swiss are the ones who are making the ground hot. Really? Give me a break. We need to put together our energy because we are on our own. And you are doubting that we are on our own. Read this one. Listen, some people say, oh, you have the habit of always going to the Tibonagi because it's very prolific these days, just like Herman Cohen had been, and there are many others. But I take this because the wordings are clear. He says, Europeans are coming to understand something which has frustrated African nations for decades. That is, the inability of the United Nations to stop conflicts. Votes in the General Assembly mean nothing if a measure is blocked in the Security Council. Has the UN outlived its usefulness? I'm leaving this on the screen so you grasp the core meaning of this. The core meaning of this is that as a people of the Southern Cameroons, we are on our own. See what's happening in Ukraine. The UN is powerless. The Security Council is powerless because the UN Security Council belongs to 5 nations. 5. The General Assembly is nonsense. 5 belongs to France, to the United Kingdom, to the United States of America, to Russia, and to China. So what is happening in Ukraine involves one of the big 5. That is why no decision can be taken at the United Nations. Because if the UN Security Council, manned by these 5 nations with veto powers, doesn't say move, there'll be no move. And now nothing can be done regarding that situation in Ukraine at the United Nations because Russia will veto it. And that is why, my people, the United Nations has been ineffective in the situation in the Southern Cameroons because France will veto it. And France has done that. When the United States of America insisted that some kind of talk should take place at the UN Security Council, following even the Ariel formula, France still went ahead to insist to block all Francophone African countries from taking part. Yes. So La République Cameroon is doing all what they are doing because they have France with the veto power there at the United Nations. So stop talking to me about Switzerland. Stop talking to me about that mediation. I had announced even before that Swiss was a French proxy. And that is being seen daily. The only magic, the only way to overcome this, we must bring La République du Cameroon to be the party that starts looking for peace talks. Am I speaking? Is it clear now? Is it very understood now? stop shipping containers to Douala. Stop it. Stop investing in La République du Cameroon. Stop it. I said I was going to come here to talk the economies of that move that we are taking. Because while the boys and girls on the ground are making sure that La République du Cameroon gets to that place where we want it to be, you give us $3,000. You go and give La République du Cameroon $70,000 by shipping containers there. You strengthen them where the boys and girls are weakening them. You give them the oxygen. Once they're taking oxygen from them, you are giving them. You are making the whole thing difficult for us. Our people on the ground are suffering a lot of deprivation already. We must begin to talk the talk and walk the walk of freedom. You can't have it without sacrificing. The rest of the world is denying itself a lot of pleasures that they were having from Russia because they want to prove a point. If we can't go down that trajectory, we will still attain our objective, but it's going to take us a long time. And just imagine what happens the longer it stays. Look, people. Look, Southern Cameroonians. Look, Ambazonians. Freedom is not free. It has never been free. Nowhere. I tell you, and I repeat it, La République du Cameroun is crumbling. All what we need to do, let's come together and finish this thing. Let's come together quickly and finish this thing. Promote those who want synergy on the ground. Foster their quest for unity. By your words, encourage them. By your words, push them. Push us. All of us need to motivate each other. We need it. At some point, we break down. But we have to talk to ourselves. Don't stand and tell me I'm tired because the way this thing is going, I don't want to be part of it again. Stop there. Where there's disorder, everything in your home, have you abandoned your home? You fix it. Let us all come together and fix it. Yes, we can. We can fix it. And so we should be able to fix it. Listen, this message tells you where La République du Cameroun is. This is a message from the Director General or from the Department of Taxation. This is an official of the Department of Taxation, and this will happen in every nook and cranny of La République du Cameroun. By this correspondence addressed to bank managers, they are asking all bank managers, all managers of every financial institution in that country to forward the listing of the bank accounts of all development associations, of all Njangi groups, any form of group. If you run a bank account anywhere, La République du Cameroun is now asking for those bank accounts to evaluate how much is in those bank accounts and begin taxing, and they will cut the money directly from the bank without asking your opinion. So if you are contributing your Njangi money and keeping it in a bank, know that in the days ahead, if you are the official, you soon have questions to answer to those who contributed, because there will be a big hole very soon. They will do their assessment by themselves. They will instruct the bank manager to deduct specific amounts automatically and credit that to the state to enable those ministers to continue embezzling as much as they can, to hide in their houses, and they will just hear fairy tales of how 600 million was stolen from the house of that one, 500 million was stolen from the house of that one, 300 million was stolen from the house of that one. Oh yes, that is it. And these are signs, clear signs, that the regime is in a desperate corner. So if your Njangi group has not yet withdrawn all its money from the bank, better begin doing that right now. If your Cultural and Development Association has not yet done that, begin removing it right now before you start blowing your fingers. But all this are signs of crumbling. That is why we just have to finish the job. That is why La République du Cameroun is working extra time, overtime, to foster our division as much as possible to get to where they intend to get to. Because they know the only hope they have in keeping us under them again ever is more division among us. That is it. That's the only hope that they have. Nothing more. Otherwise, they are finished. Let me take a little break on this. Last broadcast before the previous one, I said we were asking for resources to send people out to go sensitizing the Fulani communities and our people where they are mixed. Because we have to avoid what the Republic of Cameroon wants. A few reacted positively. A good number called me personally to throw insults. But I said, I'm immune to insults. Insult me, but foster this work. Listen, my people. I am devoted to ensuring that we get to where we are getting to. And we must continue to attack the root of the power of La République du Cameroun in our communities, which is divide and rule. These people are working hard. This far, we have been able to stem the tides in a few places, but the situation has fully escalated in Donga Mantung. And that is why we are trying to reinforce our presence in other areas where it is likely to escalate. Make a contribution today. Help the foot soldiers who are moving from community to community where they have to carry out this message to do this job. We need it. You definitely saw our voices go out there in Oku to stand and talk to the people. It is part of this job. This is what we continue doing. We continue sending our people to take them where they have to be to reconcile themselves with the communities, to make sure that we build that bond that is supposed to exist between the local communities and those who are standing on the front lines for them. Make a gesture today. Assist us in attaining this objective. You want to do Zelle or PayPal? That is the address. amberrelief2018@gmail.com. That said, let me take you again here. I said a while ago that La République du Cameroun is finished. They only count on our division to prosper. This other document you see here, this is very laughable. But this is a correspondence from the Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic of La République du Cameroun, Ferdinand Gongo, in which he is saying that following the haute instruction, that is following the high instructions of the head of state, henceforth, testing for COVID-19 will cost 30,000. Testing will cost 30,000. But they had 300 plus billions from the World Bank to fight against COVID in that country. The money was simply divided, simply shared out. It was a scandal. They did nothing to anybody. Today they are asking people to pay 30,000. They have recently again yet another huge sum of money in billions approved by the IMF to this same country to use in fighting COVID. Yet the President of the Republic, not Parliament, no, through his Secretary General, through high instructions of the head of state, is now saying 30,000 francs for COVID testing. And this testing will be made obligatory at too many places just so that you pay this money, because it is not a matter of testing, now it is funds. This is a form of taxes in La République du Cameroun, because that system has crumbled. That system is crumbling. My brothers and sisters of Southern Cameroon, if we stop giving them money by way of shipping containers into Douala, we will completely bring them to the negotiation table. It's not Swiss, it is us. The power to bring La République du Cameroun to the negotiation table lies in our hands, not in the hands of the United Nations that we have seen is powerless, not in the hands of Swiss that we have seen is playing a double game and it's a smooth screen. In our hands. Those of us in the diaspora who are involved in this should decide to sacrifice this trade for 1 year only, and you'll see the results. Our people on ground zero are no longer taking Brazzers drinks in good numbers. Yes, they are not. Sacrifice. Our people on ground zero are depriving themselves of too many things like Republic of Cameroon. Sacrifice. Our people on ground zero are observing Country Sunday every Monday and special lockdown days. Sacrifice. What are we sacrificing? We should at least halt this one. I know you tell me that there are a lot of people there who depend and survive on this trade. I have said this. Reach out. We have to organize little meetings to talk about alternative means of going about this. We are still able to get a lot of things to our people without necessarily giving ammunition in the hands of that entity that is struggling to make sure we will never exist again as a people. This is the meaning of fighting for freedom. This is the cost of freedom. Yeah, you must count the cost and be ready to pay the price. La République du Cameroon is crumbling. They are crumbling. They are only counting on our divide, on our continual divide, fragmentation to overcome us. That's all. We must deny them that opportunity. We must deny them that pleasure. And I know we have what it takes to deny them that pleasure. Let us understand, my people, we don't need to like or love each other. We just need to tolerate each other and to work with each other. Some of you have called me and expressed anger and sometimes even disgust that Mr. Akuro, how on earth do we find you abetting, collaborating, even talking, exchanging with Chris Ano? I'm quoting them. After all that he has done. Oh, I shake my head. I shake my head for good reason. Because some of these same people yesterday asked Chris Ano if he ever got to me. How on earth do you get to Mbakuro? Do you talk to him? Because you consider me despicable and you considered him then a saint. Listen, my people. There is no saint and there is no absolutely despicable person in our movement. All we need is to educate ourselves, all of us, thoroughly, and to each agree to turn from the path of perdition to the path of victory. Let's let out darkness and let in light. And trust me, we will all see the results. The results will be palpable. They will be touchable. They will be strong. We must understand that at some point, we will have to close our eyes to what happened in the past and focus on what is ahead of us. Because the struggle is ahead of us. It's not behind us. This is how we will be able to overcome. Listen, those of you who sit and even contemplate that better we just continue with La République, I have a message for you. La République itself, the top guns of La République itself are recognizing they are a failed state and they'll continue to be a failed state. That is not the portion of the Southern Cameroons. If you doubt, listen to this excerpt. It is in French, but as usual, I will translate.
Un peu tiqué avec mon camarade Auguste. Auguste, il faut faire attention. Un parti politique n'est pas seulement une machine à faire gagner les élections. Un parti politique, si vous avez raison, peut faire gagner les élections. Ça ne sert à rien de dire on a gagné les élections législatives, les élections municipales, le président a été élu à tous les mandats. On a fait quoi de ça? Mais on a détruit le Cameroun. Parce que nous, on a gagné. Mais la mission d'un parti politique, en sciences politiques, c'est faire le bilan de l'après-congrès. Les 5 piliers du renouveau que beaucoup ne savent pas, je vous les donne. Rigueur. Où est la rigueur? Deuxième pilier, moralisation. Avec les pilleurs à col blanc. Troisième pilier du renouveau que devait porter le RDPC à Bamenda. C'était quoi? Justice sociale. Vous, Auguste, vous et moi, heureusement que nous nous entendons, vous pouvez dire qu'il y a la justice sociale au Cameroun aujourd'hui? Lorsqu'on achète pour être parfois proviseur, on achète... Regardez même les différentes structures d'État. Ils ont mis des copains et des coquins partout. Parce que alors que vous croyez que notre parti est solide, eux, ils préparent l'après-BIA. Pourquoi vous êtes naïfs parfois comme ça? Nous sommes en danger. Quatrième pilier, c'est ce qu'on appelle la démocratie. Parce que l'ouverture démocratique était le quatrième pilier du renouveau. Parce que nous, les biaïstes, Auguste même c'est un biaïste, je le reconnais. C'est-à-dire que nous sommes la sentinelle du parti. Oh, je suis d'abord biaïste avant d'être militant, parce que Paul Biya a lui-même été biaïste avant d'être RDPCiste. Mais regardez, restons encore, avant d'aller au quatrième pilier sur la justice sociale. Les étudiants n'ont pas de bourse. À l'école primaire, les enfants avaient des bourses d'excellence. Dans les écoles primaires, dans les lycées. Hein, regardez les compagnies. Où est la Camer, comme disait Kalis Beyala? Où est le FOGAP? Où est le FONADER? Où est le crédit agricole? Mais je vous dis que moi je dis que 37 ans après, nous devons avoir honte. Parce que nous n'avons pas suffisamment accompagné les gens. D'accord, merci. Et puis, non, je voudrais terminer. Chuter rapidement. Avant ce pilier-là, je voudrais vous dire que regardez vous-même, un pays comme le Cameroun n'a pas d'autoroute. Et les gens viennent dire que nous sommes fiers. Moi, je suis fier de mener un combat. Pardon? Yaoundé Douala est en construction. Ils ont fait 60 km en 12 ans. Donc, ce que je voudrais vous dire que Yaoundé moi, en tant que militant du RDPC, j'ai honte parce que c'est pas le RDPC en tant qu'appareil politique qui a joué, qui a été à l'origine de tous ces échecs. Comme disait Khalif, c'est une bande de petits bandits qui ne croient même pas au parti. Merci pour ça. C'est pourquoi le cinquième pilier, attention, on a dit quatrième pilier, ouverture démocratique. On n'a plus assez de temps. Oui, bon, vraiment, permettez-moi. Le cinquième pilier, il faut le dire, c'était le règlement diplomatique. Allez voir nos ambassades aujourd'hui. Ce sont des hauts lieux où on vend le bâton de manioc pour survivre. Vous comprenez que nos ambassades, parce que l'ouverture démocratique était une dynamique portée par le président Paul Biya. D'accord, merci. Lorsqu'il a reçu Shimon Peres ici en 86. Aujourd'hui, on a dans nos ambassades une ambassade qui n'a que 2 diplomates. Un diplomate. Donc je pense quand même que les faux militants qui ont occupé les grandes fonctions, ministre de ceci, ministre de cela, c'est eux que nous, militants du RDPC, devons poursuivre. Parce que pour moi, si je suis d'accord avec vous, Auguste, que le RDPC n'est pas responsable, je continue à dire que malheureusement, les militants du RDPC ne se sont pas levés pour dire quand même que notre maître politique, le président Paul Biya, n'a pas suffisamment protégé les militants. Merci pour ça. Il a laissé des bandits...
So, that is Professor Mesanga Nyamding. You know, I laugh because, listen, people, there comes a time in the lives of a people when they simply recognize that they cannot tell lies anymore, that they cannot manipulate anymore, that they have hidden, they have used niceties, they have done all sorts of things, they have used all sorts of tactics in the past to present a completely different face. But there comes a time when the people stand and say, truly, verily, we are a failure. We are a failed state. And this is what Mesanga Nyamding has done on Vision Card. Kili Cru, they'll ask in French. Who could ever imagine this? This is Mesanga Nyamding, the same one who once stood and said Anglophones, as he called them, were very dull, was the dullest, until I challenged him with my own same performance in the school where he was teaching and where I was a student. Look, people, this is what Mesanga Nyamding says in that excerpt that just went on. Mesanga Nyamding says, Paul Biya's political party, the CPDM, that has been in control of that country for over 35 years, that it had as mantra to do 5 things. That is following 5 pillars. There was rigor, moralization, social justice, democracy, and a strong international diplomatic outreach. And one by one, he deconstructed to show how the regime has failed woefully. And what interests me is that he said Rigor, forget there's no rigor because it's a country of laissez-faire. Everybody steals, does what he wants, and goes. Moralization, there's no more moral in that country. Absolutely, it does not exist. Those who do not steal are in prison. Those who steal are promoted. Those who wreak havoc on the people are gratified. That is the country that my people of the Southern Cameroons, some among us, still want us to be attached to. And then he goes to the mother or the grandmother of all of the failures, which is social justice. He makes clear, not only are the people across the board totally deprived, if he is crying this for citizens of the Republic du Cameroon, then for those of the Southern Cameroons, it is worse. It is unclassified. Because he names companies that have disappeared. Can we recall the companies in the Southern Cameroons that we took into these battles of a union that simply disappeared? Talk about the National Produce Marketing Board. Where is it? They brought in one Bellinger from SA to come and clear it. They finished, got all the resources out of the National Produce Marketing Board and left our farmers in limbo. They did all that to impoverish us, to reduce us to puppets, so that with little crumbs like they are doing now, they can meet our mothers in Oku and give each of them 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 2,000, and a bottle of beer and say, go and march against your own children. Whoop, they are on the streets. They shut down Cameroon Bank by making sure they drained all the money from it for the same reason. They impoverish our strong business people like Nanga, like Kilo. All of those people, they crush them economically by giving them contracts, huge contracts, causing them to execute with their own money and refusing to pay them, and making sure the bank seized all their belongings. They did that to crumble our strong business people simply because they wanted to reduce us to puppets, to beggars, to make sure we will never ever be able to have the means to rise against them if ever we tried. That is why they are even shocked that we have held tight unto this moment, because there are some conscientious people in the diaspora and at home who are sacrificing the last resources they have to keep our dream of being a free country alive. That is why we are still making noise. They shut down power camp to make sure that for electricity, we are dependent on them. If they get up one morning and just simply block up the switches, we are in total darkness. Whereas we had power camp and an electricity plant in Yoke. Where is it? Crushed. What did they do? Did they end it? I mean, they did everything. The Tico WAF shut down. Everything. Everything. When Fonjindam wanted to revive one of those projects by building a shipyard plant in Victoria, they had to come up with some kind of magical things to pick him up and throw him where he is today in order to kill that project. Since he was picked up, that project ended until this day. Because the objective is to make sure we are permanently poor and therefore dependent. That is why they're able to get some of us who call themselves my country people them. They give them a few coins and they're excited. They feel that they are liked, so that they turn against us. They will go to Mbalangi, meet a few people there, and the SDO will arrange, do this or do that. They get a few people, they say, of course, they pick highway bandits and claim that they were ambers and set them on fire and say, the SDO comes and stands there and spews rubbish. Because of 3,000, 4,000, 2,000 that they give, that is what it does. They needed to impoverish us totally. But at the end of the day, in trying to do that to us, they did that even to themselves. They're totally deprived. And he says the people are busy concentrating on preparing the after Biya era. That is why nothing is going on in that country. And we, my people of the Southern Cameroons, we must assert our God-given right to freedom. We have the power to be free. Let us be free. Let us do the heavyweight lifting to be free. Listen, folks, wherever you are, whatever your occupation, whatever job you are doing, I don't care. What I want to recommend is make your contribution to help our boys and girls on the ground to unite. Wherever you hear that they are uniting, promote them. Wherever you hear that they have decided to bridge the gap and want to work together, foster that. That is our path to freedom. Don't fall into that narrative that they must be under one chapel or the other. We must avoid seeing the kind of thing that we saw in Kumbo this April 7, or rather this April 8, 2022, with our brother in Sobo. When Mesanga Nyamding says failed, it is not a joke. Because they can't take care of themselves, they can't take care of you and I. Freedom will give us a possibility to define our own development priorities. The other day, I shared a video of a football stadium in Qatar, and people were like, oh my gosh, this is in a desert. The people have been able to develop it because they are focused on their country, because they have given themselves the powers to determine their destiny. We can't hang in a system where it is France that will determine whether we are free. I mean, free to create a company to produce furniture with our wood. It is France that has to decide. We can't hang on to a system where it is France that will determine whether we are free to construct a dam on the Menchum Falls, on the Abbey Falls. We can't stay in a system where it is France that will determine whether we are free to create a plant that will transform the Irish potatoes that we produce in abundance into some other products that we are buying and importing from across the world. Hell no. We can't hang on to a system where it is France that will determine who we sign a contract with to exploit our mineral resources, or whether we are even free to exploit them by ourselves. No, hell no. We cannot tie ourselves to a system where it is France that will determine the currency we use and tell us you don't dare leave the currency they impose on you. No, my people. We should be free to do all that we want. That is the meaning of sovereignty. That is the meaning of sovereignty. And that is what we should fight for. When I say they have failed, watch. This is in Ngaoundéré.
Bonjour. Ce n'est pas ce que vous dites que à Douala, condamné par tous les gens le choléra là. En Ngaoundéré, le choléra est attendu activement. Voilà donc la cérémonie d'attente qui a été lancée officiellement par Kamwata pour attendre le choléra. Voilà ce qui coule dans les robinets. Où c'est la boue, où c'est quoi? Mais ce qui est sûr, c'est que nous, en Ngaoundéré, nous attendons de pied ferme le choléra et nous le souhaitons la bienvenue. Tout a été prévu, tout est déjà mis en marche. On n'a ménagé aucun effort. Donc, c'est ça. Nous sommes pour les grandes réalisations. Nous disons merci au grand bâtisseur, son excellence, papa, tonton, grand frère, grand-père, excellence, papa Paul Biya, le Magnétou, le père de la nation. On lui dit longue vie pour cette eau bénie qu'il nous donne, pour tout ce qu'il nous a déjà offert dans tout ce monde. On dit que les gens du MS là, ils sont en train de mourir. Ils n'aiment pas le Cameroun, ils n'aiment pas l'émergence. Avec cette eau, les gens sont en train de revendiquer. Ils revendiquent quoi? Longue vie à Papa Paul Biya, longue vie à Maman Chantal Biya, longue vie à Ens, longue vie à Franck, longue vie à Ngongo, longue vie à Mebengo, longue vie à tous ceux-là qui se battent tous les jours pour que ce pays puisse avancer comme c'est le cas. Il faut que je bois un peu, je dois boire un peu d'eau, j'ai beaucoup parlé. Ici depuis Ngaoundéré, aujourd'hui, 7 avril 2008, vendredi 8 avril 2022, il est exactement 10h25 lorsque je fais ce reportage pour dire à bas les ennemis de la République, vive le grand bâtisseur. Bonjour, ce n'est pas ce que vous dites que à Douala.
So you have seen that beautiful report there. That's a satire. The young man is mocking. He says, Ngaoundéré, is so seriously waiting for the arrival of cholera. Of course, you can see the water. And he says that water that you are seeing dripping from the tap, from calm water, is the announcement of the arrival of that cholera. And he mocks by saying, at the same time, they are saying it is Maurice Kamto's MRC party or whatever that is trying to destroy the country. Yet, that is the water that is flowing from the taps in Gaundere at a time when cholera is wreaking havoc at the Konengi prison, at the New Bell prison in Douala. Of course, we saw the devastation it created in Fako, in Victoria, across the board. I saw even a report by Amnesty International on the effect of this cholera at the New Bell prison in Douala. Yet, he says, people are there saying motions of support to Paul Biya, the indefatigable constructor or builder of a country where all citizens are totally tired, exhausted, and devastated. Emergence in 2035. That is the emergence that he's showing there. This is that failed state. This is not where we are supposed to belong. People of Southern Cameroons, let us arise and do right. Let us arise and do the things that will take us forward. Let us arise and focus on the objective. I am more optimistic today on our chances, on the possibility of us attaining our objective than I was even yesterday. All the difficulties that we see before us, they were simply part of the plan. But we should be able to make a conscious effort and be deliberate in our efforts to overcome these challenges. Yes, we can overcome them. Yes, we would overcome them. Yes, we will be free. Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia will be free. Whether La République du Cameroun likes it or not. Whether France likes it or not. Whether Antonio Guterres' United Nations likes it or not. We will be free. To God be the glory.